Hi everyone, DisturbedShadow here, back to continue on with my review of the Avenged Sevenfold discography. Today we'll be talking about their second album, which is widely considered one of their best albums, and most fans consider it their favorite. A lot of them do, at least. And that is, of course, their 2003 second album, which was released well over 10 years ago now. And that is, of course, Awaking the Fallen, which is my personal favorite album from this band, and I know a lot of fans agree with me on that one. So let's just jump right in and talk about this album. So, as always, we'll start off with some of my personal favorite tracks, but I'm very hard-pressed to find a song that I don't like on this album, so I'm just going to go ahead and go through all of them. But I'll try to be brief, since I know I tend to go on for a long time sometimes, so let's just go ahead and jump right in with the opening track, Waking the Fallen, which is the title track. It's a short little intro track, much like To End the Rapture from their previous album. It's a minute and a half about, and it's just a short little intro track. Nothing too interesting going on here, but it's just a little setup track, which feeds right into the second track and one of the most popular songs of all time, which is Unholy Confessions, which is just a fantastic track overall. It really showcases how Avenged Sevenfold style has progressed. They sort of changed things up a bit here compared to Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, where it's a lot heavier, darker sound to it, and it's just really showcase what they're going for on this album. It's just this really heavy, chuggy track, and then it has also these great melodic moments. The chorus is just one that you just really want to sing along with, and it just has this great melodic sound to it, and it's just a really excellent song. It's one of the best tracks on this album. It's just a fantastic song, and it's like their live staple closing song, and it has so much power behind it. I've seen them live twice, and they've closed out with this 2 different times. It just sounds great live, and it's easy to see why they keep playing it live, because it's just such a good song. Track number 3, Chapter 4, which is another personal favorite off of this album. It just has a great sound to it. There's a lot of cool harmonized moments. It is a little bit repetitive, where the verses have the same exact words and stuff like that, but it's still a really solid track, and it progresses a bit and changes throughout the song as it goes along, so it gets a little bit different towards the end. So it just has a great progression to it. There's great harmonized guitar parts, and there's some great melodic guitar parts and stuff like that, and it just has this really great sound to it. And what I really like about it is that there's this really great trade-off between harsh and clean vocals, just the way it's alternated, and in the verses where they layer 2 different lines, one with the harsh vocals and one with the clean singing, and they layer them together. It just has a cool sound to it. I just really like that. Just another great song on this album. Definitely worth checking out. Track number 4, Remenissions, which is a very interesting song, because it's a very progressive type of song where it changes consistently throughout the song. There's this great heavy bit with some fantastic guitar riffs in the beginning, and then it moves into a more melodic type of thing with the chorus, with acoustic guitars and stuff. It just has a great progression to it. It's got a really cool harmonized solo-y bit, and then the second time they go into the chorus, they layer acoustic guitars on top of distorted electric guitars. Just has a great feel to it. And there's just amazing drumming throughout this entire song, where the Rev's doing all this cool, interesting stuff consistently throughout this whole song. They just give it that extra layer of awesomeness. Track number 5, Desecrate through Reverance, which is one of the more heavier songs of the album. It just has this great sort of build up in the beginning, and then it gets really heavy in the verses, and Shadows just has these really heavy, high-pitched screams that just have so much power behind them. And then I like the end of the song as this great moment where it just builds up, and Matt really showcases his singing prowess. It just has so much power in his voice when he's singing at the end of this song. It just has a great sound to it. Track number 5, Eternal Rest, which starts off with an amazing shredding guitar solo-y thing. And this comes in with really fast-paced drumming and rhythm riffs, and then Matt's just belting out these screams. It just has such a powerful feel to it. And then it gets really heavy, chuggy with this really great groovy riff Just like banow, banow, banow. And it just, I love that riff. It just gets in my head all the time. And it's just really layered with these really in-your-face screams. And then a little bit later, it pulls back to a more melodic thing where they bring in like an organ and these really great melodic singing bits before it pulls back into the really heavy stuff. It just has a great sound to it. It's another song that really has that sort of progressive style to it where it's changing throughout the entire song to keep things different and interesting. Track number 7, Second Heartbeat, which is over 7 minutes long. It's 7 minutes and 1 second long, and it's just a great song. What I really love about this song is that it tells a story. And just each, not really verse, it's just another song where it's very progressive, but each little bit of lyrics like sort of moves along and tells a different chapter of this story. And then, of course, the best part about this song is, one, this awesome harmonized lead melodic guitar part that just really gets stuck in your head. And then there's the fantastic guitar solo at the end. It's probably one of Synyster Gates' best guitar solos of all time, in my opinion. It just has a great sound to it. And it's definitely the best one on this album. It just has a great feel to it. And this is one of my favorite tracks off the album. Track number 8, Radiant Eclipse. This song starts off with a slow intro, and then it slowly builds up, and it gets a little faster pace, and then it gets really heavy in the verses. And then this song has these really amazing melodic choruses with great lead guitar parts and really powerful moving lyrics, and just Matt's voice is just soaring in these choruses. It just has so much power in it. There's so much emotion in the song, and it just comes together so nicely. Track number 9, at 9 minutes long, I Won't See You Tonight Part 1, which is the only song that features exclusively clean singing. There's no harsh vocals at all. It starts off with this great piano piece, and then it has this really amazing lead guitar part that just soars above everything else, and then it pulls back to clean style guitars and a bit of keyboards in the background, and then Matt's doing this really soft singing, and then it just progresses into these soaring choruses where Matt's voice really stands out. And then there's just so much emotion in this song, whether it's in the choruses or the verses or the bridge part where there's this great it's Matt's voice layered a few times with the backing vocals. It just sounds really good. And then there's amazing harmonized guitar parts in this. It just sounds so good. Then it pulls back to the piano bit and then some keyboards in the background. And then it builds up to this ending part where Matt's voice just really soars above everything else again. And it's layered nicely in with some piano. And then the song fades out into static, and then it feeds into I Won't See You Tonight Part 2, which is the heavier track, which is sort of the second part. This is like the second chapter in this story that this song is telling, that these two songs are telling together. This song is a lot heavier, and it just has these crazy, insane riffs throughout it, and just these really squealy guitar parts that just, if you listen to it loud enough, it really hurts your ears, but it really fits for what this song is going for. Now, I want to talk about these two songs together because they are two parts of the same story. The first one is, of course, like a suicide note, basically, from the main character of the story, who's saying goodbye to his loved ones, basically. And then the second part is told from the perspective of this guy's friend, who is now responding to the fact that his friend committed suicide and sort of dealing with that. And what's really cool is in this song, there's a part where they reprise the chorus from I Won't See You Tonight Part 1. And it just has a great feel to it before it gets really heavy again. It's just really cool how these two songs work together, and how one's the most clean singing and more melodic type of song, and the other one's the heaviest track on the album. It sort of has that interesting dichotomy to it, and I just really like how that works together. Track number 11, Clairvoyant Disease. This song has a great alternation between clean vocals and harsh vocals again. It just pairs really nicely. There's great guitar work, and I really like the solos in this song. And the melodic singing in the bridge just has a lot of emotion to it. It's just a great song overall, and it has a great flow to it. And finally, track number 12, the closing track, And All Things Will End, which is another fantastic song with a bit of a proggy style to it, where it starts off with like the verse and then the chorus, then the verse, then the chorus, and then it pulls back to a part like in the intro of the song. There's this clean guitar bit, and they pull back to that in the middle of the song where it gets soft again, and that does some soft vocals, and then some harmonized lead guitars come in. And there's some whispering in the background before it gets heavy again with some really heavy, powerful riffs. And then it once again pulls back into the the chorus. And then it ends with this great, like, 2-minute fade out where there's just great guitar shredding as it slowly fades, and it sort of gets more chuggier and heavier as it goes along until it eventually fades out into nothingness, or just faint percussion sounds before the song ends. It just has a great way to end this album. So that wraps up my track by track, since I just wanted to talk about all the tracks because they're all so fantastic that they're worth talking about. So now let's go in and talk about the sound of the band. We'll start with Synyster Gates and Zacky Vengeance on the guitar first. The thing I want to talk about the most is how they sort of changed the guitar style a bit from Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, where they sort of had a more punky feel to it. This is like the riffs themselves and the guitar tone and stuff. It has a much darker, heavier, more evil-sounding tone to it. And it really fits for what this album is going for. It has that really dark atmosphere. And then they're doing so many interesting riffs that just have this evil feel to them. Like in Chapter 4, Remenissions, Eternal Rest, Desecrate through Reverance, where these rhythm riffs just have this really evil sound to them. That's like the only way I can describe it. It just sounds evil. And then there's so many great lead parts throughout this whole album, like the harmonized stuff on Chapter 4, or the lead bits on I Won't See You Tonight Part 1, which just have so much emotion to them, and just they really get in your head. And then of course stuff like the solo in Second Heartbeat that just has such a great sound to it. So they're doing a fantastic job on the guitars. I just love the sound to it. Next thing I want to talk about is, of course, their new bassist, Johnny Christ, who is, in my opinion, a lot better than their previous bassist. And he's so much louder in the mix, and you can just hear the bass consistently. And there's a lot of moments where the bass will go off and do its own thing, like on Remenissions and Clairvoyant Disease, where the bass really stands out to me. It's doing some interesting stuff. So Johnny Christ is doing a good job on bass, and he's a great addition to this band. Next up is the Rev on the drums. This guy is amazing. Everything he plays the drums on is just so good, and he always perfectly fits for what the song is going for. Like, the drumming on Chapter 4 is more pulled back and simplistic, and it really fits in with the song. But he throws in a lot of great fills when the parts of the song change to keep things interesting, and to make things a bit more technical in between the parts where it's more simplistic. And then you have a song like Eternal Rest where he's playing super fast and going crazy on the double bass to keep up for what the guitars are doing. Or there's just stuff like in Unholy Confessions where it alternates between the more simplistic drumming and the more complex drumming, depending on what part of the song it's at. It just has a great sound to it. So he's doing all these great things, and they just fit so nicely together, and he's really an awesome drummer, no matter what he's playing on. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, on the track Remenissions, he's just playing all these crazy technical bits, and it just sounds so good. And then finally, M. Shadows on vocals. I think this is his best vocal performance, and it is such a step up from what he was doing on Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, where his voice is just at the top of its game. He just has these really powerful screams, and he's doing these really high-pitched screams that you don't really hear a lot from other metalcore vocalists, and he has such a unique sound to his screams that you can't really get them mixed up with anyone else's because they just have such a unique feel to it. And then his singing range is amazing. He just has these more gruff, sort of scratchy type of singing like he does in parts of Unholy Confessions or Chapter 4, and he's got his more melodic style of singing like he has on I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 in the verses and the choruses of Remenissions, where it's a lot more melodic. And he throws all these different styles together and just knows how to alternate between them to keep things interesting and varied. So he's doing an amazing job on vocals, and these 5 guys just work so well together and they have such great chemistry and this produce such an awesome sound. So that's it for the band members themselves, and now we'll go to my final wrap-up thoughts. As I said before, this is my personal favorite album from Avenged Sevenfold, and it's just such a great sound to it. And if you really like the more metalcore style music, this is definitely one of the albums you should check out from Avenged Sevenfold, because it's just like one of the definitive metalcore albums in my opinion. And it's sort of sad that they've gone on to change their style and do different things, even though those albums are really great. But on the plus side, we still have albums like this that we can go back to when we want to hear this style of Avenged Sevenfold, and it's just a perfect album. And I know I say I don't do this very often. I do not give numerical ratings, but much like my review of Shogun from Trivium, I have to give this album a 10 out of 10 because it is just so good. And I always go back to it. And there's so many songs I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of times. And it's one of the albums that really got me into metal in the first place. Now, it wasn't the album I discovered them by. That was, of course, the next album, City of Evil, which I will be talking about very soon. But it was one of the first metal albums I really got into. And I've just listened to it so many times over the years, and I always go back to it because it just has such a great sound to it. Anyway, that wraps up my review. Be sure to like this review if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my reviews of various rock and metal albums. And I will see you guys next time with my next review in this Avenged Sevenfold discography. But until then, see you guys later.